Welcome to the Law of One Meditation Study Group, Conscious Channeling of LL Research. We are those known to you as the Principle of QO. Greetings in the love and in the light of the One Infinite Creator, in whose service we come to you this day. Thank you for calling us to your circle of seeking. It is a great privilege to share in your meditation. As always, we would ask your kind consideration in being very careful what thoughts of ours you use as you move through thinking about your spiritual process. Please disregard any thought that we offer that is not immediately helpful to you. We would not wish to be a stumbling block before you. We thank you for that consideration, for it allows us to speak freely without being concerned that we might infringe upon your free will. We are empathetically not authority figures, but rather travelers with you upon a certain kind of path that goes on forever. This day you have asked about feelings that you have about the society and culture in which you live, and about the government which rules your particular part of the world. You express feelings of deep concern, despair, and hopelessness. You express a feeling that you are not able to help the situation by anything that you can do. And you ask what the spiritual principles are in dealing with these thoughts and in looking for ways to transform the inner landscape of your thoughts. My sister, we thank you for this query. Our response must be somewhat indirect, as we cannot make a frontal approach to your query. We are those who speak to you from a vibration of unconditional love. Our contact, and our type of contact in general, does not have the facility with detailed, earthly information of a practical nature that, say, an inner planes entity might have. It is not our place to interfere with the governance or the affairs in general of planet Earth. For good information on how to affect your government, your politics, your economics, or your society in general by practical and worldly means, we would strongly suggest that you inquire from another source than we. We are a carefully tuned contact that focuses upon spiritual principles. From that level, my sister, we may answer you, but it is perhaps an answer other than you would have wished. And for that we can only say that our ability to speak through this instrument is based upon her preserving a certain tuning. Were she to slip out of this tuning range, we would be unable to continue offering her information. However, she might be able to continue receiving information from an entity of a negative nature that was able to ape or imitate the vibration of those of the QO group. We say these things to you so that you will understand if we do not roll up our sleeves and dig into the cleaning up of planet Earth. Indeed, my sister, we do not see that picture. let us talk a bit about what we do see upon your planet at this time. Firstly, you were concerned that there may be a conflagration caused by humans setting off bombs in a nuclear holocaust that would strip the planet of its atmosphere, or were it not so horrendous a configuration, would simply cloud the atmosphere so that life upon planet Earth would become extinct from its inability to function in its new environment. There are many peoples upon your planet who have access to such bombs and weapons of mass destruction, and there are more who have the capacity to acquire them if they see the need. Therefore, my sister, your concern is valid. What shall you do then with that concern? This instrument recently read an article which described a Hawaiian healing technique called Oponopono. In this healing technique, the healer never touches the patient and may not even see the patient. He or she may simply be told about the patient. This healing technique is intended to be used in healing mental illness, emotional distress, and the criminal mentality. The healer receives all the information concerning the patient. He then looks within to discover that condition within himself. When he has found that condition within himself, he sets about healing that condition within himself. When he has healed himself, quite often the prisoner or mental patient is found to acquire no more medication or to have been healed of criminal tendencies. The spiritual principle that is behind this healing technique is the very basic principle of unity. All things are one. It is interesting that we see all of you individually and collectively as enormously greater in substance than any other details of your earthly environment. Whereas you see yourselves as the smallest portion of an environment that towers above you, beneath you, and on all sides of you, making you insignificant, helpless, hopeless, and full of despair. We would encourage those who wish to make a difference on planet Earth to gaze at the planetary dysfunction, and then to internalize that gaze and find the dysfunction within. It is not difficult for most humans to do. Both the ones known as J and the one known as T were talking about how easy it is to move from a mental and emotional attitude of unconditional love to an attitude of irritation and hostility when the catalyst of an unhappy and abrasive person breaks into the peaceful world of home and family. What dysfunction is there in the world this day that might lead to the self-destructive and utterly irrational decision to set off nuclear bombs? What is that distortion but the belief that there is separation between people? How often, my sister, do you think that you will be able to work on healing that sense of separation between yourselves and others that you see in the world's dysfunction. We ask you to realize that we are speaking on the level of a causality that is far beyond the causality of worldly things. We are not saying that if you heal your sense of separation today, the world will change tomorrow. We are saying that when individuals who belong to the tribe of humankind choose one upon another to serve the love and the light and to refrain from fear, that attitude will spread. That emotional safety net will begin to spread out, and the more people that are doing this kind of work within themselves, the more the environment will shift on the inner planes in such a way that those who come after you will be able to do this work in consciousness more and more easily. It is understandable that entities gazing upon the world scene would feel helpless, hopeless, and despairingly. Certainly, my sister, we too see the broken bodies of the children and other innocents carelessly killed by those who do not see that they and their brothers and sisters are one. We do not intend to downplay or shrug off the suffering of the world. At the same time, we do see from a point of view which encompasses a larger pattern than you can see from within incarnation. The fourth density is being born normally and in a healthy way. The efforts of many groups, including this one, through whom we speak this day, have spoken of light and love, and the word has been passed, more than perhaps you might realize. At the grassroots level, at the level of indigenous peoples, and at the level of civilized worlds of the first fumblings and reachings for something that has substance. We see the world waking up to love. We see it beginning to identify the hunger that it has. We see it beginning to respond. Love being reflected in love. There is great hope at that grassroots level, below the radar of politics and empire. We cannot tell you not to be concerned about politics, society, economics, and culture, depending upon your own judgment and your own free will. We encourage you and all entities to follow your heart, to define those gifts that you might feel to share with your society and your culture that might make it better. This is your free will and your good work to do if you wish it. What we are here to speak with you concerning is something far simpler, and at the same time something far greater. We come to tell you a story about love. Love unconditional. Love unlimited. Love that creates and destroys. It is a simple concept, this one great original thought of unconditional love, creating the universe in order to know more about itself. If you can look at your experiences in the context of the Creator's desire to gather experience and information about itself, then you will see that the Creator is perfectly happy with you, whatever you are doing, and especially delighted with you when you are attempting to know yourself at an even deeper level. If a third density experience ends not with a bang, but with a whimper by humanity polluting its air and its water until it can no longer find a way to live, this will not overly trouble the Creator, for the Creator is gathering the information about the entire range of experience that is had by this population or tribe of humanity on the third planet from your sun. Indeed, if you were to destroy your planet, as has been done elsewhere in this solar system, on Mars, for instance, and Maldek, the Creator would still feel that it had received good information from you. Consequently, to the Creator, you basically can do no wrong, as long as you are authentically acting and gaining experience. Now, to your own consciousness and conscious, you have much more accountability, for you sent yourself forth into incarnation with a plan, and there is a part of you that is hoping, day by day as you go through your entire life, that you are on track with your mission, your plan, and your purpose. There are those who attempt to nail down the nature of that plan. Yet you, as a spirit, did not plan specific activities. You planned opportunities and relationships. Those are the keys. When you are tempted to feel helpless, hopeless, and despairing, we would encourage you to remember that you do not need to relate to some idea of the Creator and please the Creator. Neither do you need to relate to the world and in some way please the world. In terms of your spiritual work, you have only yourself to please. When you see before you your own statement, I feel helpless, I feel hopeless, I feel despair, how do you think your highest and best self would respond to that complaint? You see, my sister, the answers lie within you already. By merely encouraging your own process a bit, we believe you may see the answers flowing into place before you. You are not helpless. You are a person of infinite power. You are not hopeless unless you choose to take that pose and stand as a statue, ignoring the movements of life. You may well be despairing because you have allowed yourself to identify the illusion as the realest portion of your life. In actuality, in terms of spiritual evolution, that which occurs outside of your mind is food for the mill. The pay dirt of spiritual seeking lies not in circumstances, but in how you choose to respond to them. There are always reasons to despair. There are always reasons to be intimidated. That which this instrument calls the loyal opposition would be delighted to see entities give up those facilities of hope and faith that make people unreasonably optimistic. We, on the other hand, would encourage you to see that if you choose to stand knowing who you are, your feet planted upon the soil of your life and your experience, and your arms stretched in praise and thanksgiving to the Creator of all things, you are a person of great power. If you so choose to adopt and embrace faith, no suffering can break you, for you choose the truth, and all else is illusion. If you choose hope, those wings shall fly you where you need to go. For each entity, morale and attitude are a matter of choice. There is no limitation which can keep an entity from grooming and settling his or her own mind and his or her own heart along the lines of peace and joy and thankfulness, if one so desires to seek those levels of being within oneself. And, my sister, as each entity does these things, so the world will change. We are those of QO and are aware of your query, my sister. The spiritual principle involved in communication of ideas is what this instrument would call the Johnny Appleseed principle. All thoughts that you feel are helpful and useful for others remain so, only in your own mind. Just as other people may tell you all manner of things which you do not find relevant or interesting. So you may talk until you are, as this instrument would say, blue in the face without ever making sense to anyone else or doing them any good. Spiritual information is sensitive to context and environment. You cannot simply take the world by the throat and say, "Listen to me, I have information that is helpful." Those who force information on others are acting in a way that they feel is helpful. Yet, in effect, it is service to self, for they are teaching what they believe is good for you without regard to what you think about it or how you react to it. The Johnny Appleseed principle is one of dropping seeds. This instrument, for instance, and the research group with which she is associated, maintains a website with thousands of transcripts and speeches that this instrument has created through her work throughout several decades. It lies there, waiting to be found by those who have a spiritual impulse. Many, many other beautiful and inspiring sources of information also lie waiting. There is no shortage of information. We ask you to rest your concern and internalize that desire to help so that you see the very living of your life as an emblem and a symbol of the living of the life of the world. Consciousness is not yours alone. You share the innermost identity of yourself with all that there is. Walk, my sister, out of the small rooms and dim hallways of fear and come out into the outdoors of wind and water and fire and earth. Come from the local to the infinite. Come from the world of detail to the world of the four directions, the elements, and the powers. Come to the great cross of life, the vertical reach to the infinite, the horizontal reach within incarnation to loving and being loved. And know that it is in the little things that you shall create a new heaven and a new earth. May you do each little thing as if it were a great honor and privilege. May you shine as the lighthouse you are. May we ask if there is another query at this time? If there is no further query, then we shall leave this group and this instrument in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We are those of QO. Adone, my friends.